the Age of Fission radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Vision radio show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear.
Good morning, UCY.TV listeners as well as radio listeners. My name is Jerome and I am the Sane Environmentalist. Today I'm excited to introduce you all to a man. His name is Dr. Mark Serkis. He's an acupuncturist, a doctor of Oriental and pastoral medicine, and he is a prolific writer and author of some astounding medical and health-related books. Dr. Serkis's methods are based on medical science and long years of clinical experience, not only with his own, but experience of doctors from around the world who have been practicing brilliant medicine. Now let me see if I can get him on the line. Please hold for a moment. Trying to reach him.
I'm here. Hello?
Serkis.
You're coming through very broken. I'm not hearing you very well.
Okay, is this... Hello? Looks like I'm going to have to try this again. Hold on,
I'm
please.
only here.
All right, can you hear me, sir?
Say something a little more.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know if you're breaking up. I need you to speak like 2 sentences in a row.
Okay. Well, we are live on the air right now, theoretically. And so if you can hear me, then that means we're doing good.
Okay, I can hear you.
Good. I already did an introduction of you, sir. And my headset was apparently acting goofy. So at any rate, I introduced you as a acupuncturist, a doctor of Oriental and pastoral medicine, and a writer. Can you tell us more about your practice? Can you hear me, sir?
You're still breaking up. You're breaking
Is this better now?
up a lot. Can you hear?
Yeah, looks like we're having internet issues, connection issues. That seems typical every time we try to do a show on Skype. So, can you hear? How am I coming through right now, sir? Yeah. So this is messy. Give me a moment, folks. I may not even be online. Let's see if I'm online. Am I online? Looks like. Oh, okay, good. I am online. Good. So it looks like I've lost the good doctor, unfortunately, and that kind of sucks, to be honest with you. So I would be embarrassed, but it's not really my fault here. Give me a break. Okay. All right, so I'm online now, just you and me at ECY.TV. I'm going to have to figure out something else with the good doctor. Apparently, somewhere in between all of our internet connections, things aren't right. Well, what I'll do is I will call him back and I will pre-record an interview with him and have that at a later date. But what I wanted to talk to him about was the importance of nutrition and the importance of trying to combat some of the industrial and radiation-induced issues and cancers that we're having in our country. I wanted to talk to him about the fact that there's a 95% failure rate amongst adults who receive chemotherapy. And what can we do as a society to help mitigate the industrial poisoning that we are being subjected to? So that is unfortunate that I lost him. He was busy. He said he only had a half an hour, so we will pick up and pursue that next time around. So now I'm lost because I had a whole program set up behind this interview, and now I don't. So I'm going to literally have to wing this one. Wish me luck. May the force be with me. So let's talk about There we go. Monty's my hero. So we're going to go to the NRC's website. And apparently, NRC homepage. Talk about alerts. Excellent. Everybody's binging me and binging me. Quit binging me, people. You're distracting me. I've got this. Really, I do. Every time I get a pop-up, let's talk about animal extinctions, animal mass die-off. Let's go through the list there. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Who is this? Mark?
Yes.
Can you hear me this time? Awesome.
I
can you believe it? That's awesome. I am very pleased that we got you back, sir, because I was kind of, for the lack of a better word, floundering. So, I already gave an introduction about you. Can you tell us a little more about your practice?
My practice is from a distance. My clients are from around the world, not here in Brazil. I live at the end of the world here in the interior highlands. That's why I'm having trouble with my internet. But for the last 8 years or so, I've had a practice, international practice, and most of it is teaching people how to treat themselves at home, specifically with for cancer. I get more than just cancer patients, but that's been my primary thrust, applying my protocol of natural allopathic medicine for cancer and teaching people how to practice it at home by themselves, or hopefully with the help of family members, etc.
So, how important is nutrition in fighting cancer?
My practice, or my system of medicine, is actually concentrated nutrition. So, I'm not a nutritional expert, meaning in terms of diet and eating food. But what I teach people is how to use concentrated magnesium, sodium bicarbonate, iodine, selenium, now hydrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide. These are all primary substances and essential nutrients. But, to eat them, it doesn't work, or doesn't work anything close to using them as medicines, whether you inject them, inhale them, drink them, take baths in them. There are ways to get these nutrients in a very concentrated form. And that's what my medicine's all about.
Excellent. So I've read that you're also an expert in the effects of low-level chronic radiation exposure on humans and other animals. What are the impacts of low-level exposure on people? Chronic low-level exposure.
I'm not sure there's I don't actually know that there's such a thing as, at this point, low level. Radiation levels used to be low level, 100 years ago, 50 years ago. But when they started testing atomic weapons, and then they built atomic nuclear plants, and then the doctors go crazy in their arrogant form of medicine using radiation to diagnose and treat disease, most people today are not getting low-level radiation. They're getting, reasonably mid-level and high levels of radiation. So it's increasingly a dangerous situation. It also depends on where you live, and it depends on also if you are going to a doctor and getting CAT scans and PET scans, or you have cancer and getting radiation. When they treat radiation with radiation for cancer, they give near lethal dosage. Lethal. So no wonder most people die. So
yeah, according to my research, 95% of adults do not respond to chemotherapy. Their cancers do not go into remission from that. And that's why, and I was thinking yesterday as well about radiomedicine, I guess you could call it, where they're using radioisotopes inside the body for imaging purposes. They're using chemotherapy. They're using magnetic and X-ray scanning technology, and and I was thinking, well, that must save lives. And then I thought, on the other hand, well, are we just weakening our gene pool that way? Are we prolonging these people's lives, and they're allowed to go forth and propagate? And is this actually kind of weakening our gene pool as a species? And is nuclear medicine actually doing more damage to us as a species than good?
For sure, more damage. It's insanity. Dr. Walter Russell, who was was called Atomic Suicide by Dr. Walter Russell. And he defines radiation as the death principle. And that's it all. And modern scientists say that there is no safe dosage of radiation. Every increment of radiation increases your chance of getting cancer. So there's not a question about it. There's only this incredible arrogance, which is a cover word for stupidity, of the medical system that is using the death principle to do what? Well, they do exactly what we all know they do. They kill a lot of people. If it's not with radiation, with antibiotics, now antibiotic-resistant infections, all pharmaceutical drugs, all of them are dangerous, have side effects, which are really their main effects, because they're, by definition, mitochondrial poisons, pharmaceuticals, even aspirin. Aspirin kills, different forms of aspirin kills about 20,000 Americans a year. That's aspirin. You get over the counter. Tylenol is one of the most dangerous medicines. A lot of people go to the emergency room just from Tylenol. So, their approach to health is death. That's about, that's the saying as bluntly as possible.
Yeah. So the fact that we are in these days, basically we have health problems from chemical exposure from our industrial lifestyles, and then we use basically different chemicals to try to treat ourselves. I've been studying and researching a little bit about homeopathic remedies for things, and various herbal and extractions and oil extractions of different herbs and flowers. And you're in Brazil, so you are in the heart of the place where there's probably more medicinal plants in Brazil than anywhere in the world. So can you tell us a little bit about the research that you've been doing and some of the discoveries you've made? And also how to get a hold of...
Well, the best way is to email. Most of my mail goes to my support staff, so I don't actually get so much. If people want a consultation with me, they go to my site and they book a consultation and have to pay for that, of course. So I'm not so freely available or accessible. In terms of my discoveries, I could talk about my early ones or my latest one. I could say about my early ones, which were represented in my books. I had a series of books starting with magnesium, transdermal magnesium therapy, and how, like magnesium, good way to understand magnesium is if somebody's dying and they're having a heart attack and you inject magnesium, you save their life in a heartbeat. That tells you a lot about magnesium. Then I went on to write a book about sodium bicarbonate. Again, if you're dying in the emergency room or intensive care ward and your blood is frying, very acid, you're suffering from sepsis, an injection or IV of sodium bicarbonate will save your life in a few seconds. Selenium, and I have wrote a book about that, another big research project. Again, a pharmaceutical company makes injectable selenium for sepsis. So it's an emergency room medicine. Again, has the power, when used correctly, to save a life. When your life is on the line, meaning you only have a few seconds or minutes to save the person's life. Iodine, I have a book on iodine. My third edition is about to be published in New York. Again, hospitals use it by the gallon. It's the most used substance except for oxygen. And, iodine is a fantastic medicine. It's, of course, a nutrient. And takes the place of antibiotics and vaccines. So my research,
and also it keeps the thyroid from... Go ahead, sir. Right. I'm sorry.
Yes, sure. It's protective of the thyroid. Instead of having fluoride, bromide, and mercury populate the thyroid, and radioactive iodine, you take iodine, and if your iodine is sufficient, then these alien substances that love to go into the thyroid won't go in. So yeah, it's very important for thyroid. My most recent research, and I'm presently writing a book on hydrogen medicine. Hydrogen is the up-and-coming fantastic substance that not only runs the universe and every sun in it, and runs cars, trucks, and rockets. We send rockets to space with hydrogen, liquid hydrogen. Now, medical scientists are finding out that this is probably the number one best medicine in the world for just about everything, meaning that if you're dying or you're sick or you have diabetes or epilepsy or whatever, you name it, go a list of a couple of hundred diseases. The first medicine or nutrient, because remember, water is H2O, means there's twice as many hydrogen atoms and oxygen in our bodies. Our bodies are 99% by number water molecules. Hydrogen inhaling it, or drinking it, or taking a bath in it, or injecting it, is the first medicine anybody and everybody should think about if they need a medicine. It's, as I say, it's the simplest thing, and in the simplest thing, the smallest thing, hydrogen is the smallest thing, is like a miracle medicine. Right. And I'll be finished with my book in a few weeks and launch it sometime in mid-January.
Good. Yeah, and I will also, let's provide everybody with your website's URL is drcircus.com, and it's drcircus.com. You can get to your site with that, and there's a lot of information on there. I'm on your site right now. Talks about treating cancer with voltage. What exactly would that be?
Well, voltage, very interesting. Voltage is the same measurement as pH. pH and voltage are measured the same way. The higher your pH, physically, you can go to Google and see conversion. The conversion is direct. One is a measurement of the other. So as the body becomes more acidic, your voltage drops. The third item that goes right in the middle of that is oxygen. The more acidic, the less oxygen, or lower the voltage, same thing, the less oxygen the cells can absorb. And the less oxygen the body can transport. Cancer is known for many decades as a metabolic disease where the cells are no longer using oxygen to make energy and make ATP through the mitochondria. Because they're starved of energy, because they're acidic and low energy, they turn to fermentation to survive. Fermentation is messy and very inefficient. So cancer really is a low oxygen condition. Low oxygen because of low energy and because of very acidic.
So then what we need to do is aim towards alkalinity in our system?
Exactly. When you take sodium bicarbonate.
Sodium bicarbonate comes in.
Exactly.
Because I know that sodium bicarbonate reduces acidity and creates a more alkaline environment, or more towards the neutral.
No.
So are we aiming for a pH of 7 in our body?
Well, when you do cancer therapy with the sodium bicarbonate, you're looking to instantly change your urinary pH to 8. Your general pH, like your saliva, doesn't change so fast. And one of the reasons for that is people today are breathing too fast. When you breathe too fast, what's the problem? You're getting rid of CO2. We breathe. The breathing is stimulated by CO2, not by oxygen. When you have too much CO2 in the blood, you got to get rid of it, and so we breathe faster. So exercise is a wonderful thing because you create a lot of CO2. It opens up the blood vessels, gets more oxygen into the body. Exercise is wonderful. There's nobody who says it's not, unless you do too much of it. But when you're sitting around in front of your computer or sleeping or walking around the house and you're breathing too fast 24 hours a day, you're not creating CO2 and you're breathing fast and you're getting rid of it. And this is a big problem that causes cancer because CO2 goes down, oxygen goes down.
And also, higher levels of CO2 would create a more alkaline overall environment, wouldn't it?
Exactly, because that's what sodium bicarbonate is. When you eat sodium bicarbonate and it hits the stomach acid, it turns to CO2. If you put a lemon in the glass
Exactly.
of bicarbonate, the acid in the lemon, right in the glass, turns the bicarbonate into CO2. In the blood, CO2 and bicarbonate, it's two forms of the same thing. So one of the problems is you can take bicarbonate, but if you don't change your breathing, using a breathing device from Russia, for example, $50, you breathe and blow bubbles through water, and it slows your breathing down. People who recover from cancer, this helps a lot. You can increase the CO2. That takes time because you're going to have to practice through days, weeks, and months. But the bicarbonate gives you instant impulse, instant CO2, which means instant oxygen, instant more energy, and that's why it works very well as a cancer medicine.
So, would you recommend that people mix a tablespoon of baking soda with water and drink that as a way to get more sodium bicarbonate into the body, or
sure.
Is oral
lemon? I like this formula. It's called pH Adjust. It's available from integratedhealth.com. pH Adjust is a combination of sodium bicarbonate, potassium bicarbonate, and magnesium carbonate. So when you we need potassium and we need magnesium, so you get less salt than sodium bicarbonate. So I personally use this formula.
Yeah, that was my next question, was that basically baking soda or sodium bicarbonate is salty and would increase your sodium levels dramatically. But
no.
I see
not dramatically. It's sodium bicarbonate is never been known to raise the blood pressure because it actually has a lowering if you have too much salt, it's not from sodium bicarbonate, it's from your food, eating too much salty foods. Sodium bicarbonate by itself is not a problem. But if you've got a very salty diet, then it's a problem. Adding more salt when you have too much salt, yes, is a problem.
So it's I'm on a page on your site. It's the bicarb magical mineral supplement. Is that what you're referring to?
That's
It looks like a cloudy drink, kind of.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's like milky white. It goes down very easy. Sodium bicarbonate goes down it's a little more difficult.
Yeah, but if you have heartburn, it'll take care of that.
It'll take care of that for sure.
I've used. People can get this product. It's called pH Adjust, right?
Correct.
And what I'll do is I will in the comments of because this video, this phone call will end up on YouTube, on ucy.tv's YouTube page, and I will link in through the comments this product and your website, etc. And I'm really glad that I got a hold of you. I was Googling low-level effects of radiation on the human body, and you came up under that Google search. And I'm beginning to see now that there is a whole nother thing, which it is pH is important, and I'm beginning to see how the pH could lead to electro imbalance, which could lead to low oxygen, which could lead to cellular degradation, which could lead to cellular mutation. Am I sort of right on the right track there?
Yeah, well, pH, every every physiological process in the body is pH sensitive. So,
Right.
And since doctors don't understand that, and since doctors don't want to understand that, I tell people you're better off going to a gas station and they talk to a gas station attendant about your health than a doctor, because they don't even pay attention to the most basic of science, medical science. pH is a critical issue in every moment, because every biological process inside the body is pH sensitive. And it's the same thing as saying that voltage sensitive, oxygen sensitive, because they all go together. The basics of life. When you treat the basics of life, you get better. When you don't, and you take poisons instead, you don't get better. Pretty simple.
Exactly. So I got a message from you that you're going to have to go, and I understand that. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning, Dr. Circus.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and like I said, this video, it'll be up as a YouTube video at ucy.tv, and I will link to your products and your site under the comment section of that video. So again, I hope you have a fantastic day, and
thank you.
You have fun in Brazil.
Okay, well, I assure you.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that was very interesting. The effects of pH. Who would have known? Who would have thought it? That the pH of our body affects the oxygen levels, and that in itself could affect how cells mutate or not and create cancerous cells. Because I guess cells go into fermentation instead of oxygenization as an energy source. So, like I said, his site is Dr. Circus, DrSircus.com. And I recommend you go there. He recommends just baking soda, water, and lemon as a way to help combat cancer and the acidification of our bodies. We just want to aim for a pH of 8 in our urine, I guess. If your urine is pH 8 or so, you're good. Remember to breathe slowly, and I think that's just good business anyway, to breathe slowly, and that's a good idea. So again, I wanted to thank Dr. Circus. Appreciate your time and energy. I know you're a busy man, and he's in Brazil. I thought maybe he was in England or something, but Brazil. So that's amazing. So now let's talk about a site that I like to go to every once in a while called endtimesprophecy.org. And I know it sounds kind of Christianish, and it is a Christian website, I guess. But they have a page called Animal Deaths, Birds, and Fish. And they list birds and fish and other animals and bees that are dying off. And so let's go down, God, just from November. Holy God, that's amazing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably at least 20 or more incidents of the mass animal die-offs just in November. So let's start here in the United States in Florida. we have, this is from Fox News, red tide causing dead fish to wash up in Senegal. So let's see. People on popular Lee County beach had to avoid dead fish. Florida Fish and Wildlife says toxic red algae bloom is to blame for the dead fish that washed up on Senegal after they had detected high levels of red tide along the Lee County coastline. It smells bad and the water's very murky, said Pam Borman, who walked along the beach. Lots of dead sea life, she added. Lady said also that she's been coughing and sneezing a lot while she was on the beach. People are having to take Claritin. People with asthma shouldn't come here, said the state. So red tide is an ugly thing. Let's see, next we've got in India, thousands of dead fish wash up in Chennai, India. Let's get the picture here. And this is from the Hindu. For the past 2 days, and this was dated November 29th. For the past 2 days, thousands of dead fish have washed ashore along the coast of Bezant Nagar, or floating around in the estuary near the broken bridge. Fishermen who have been removing fish from the water and throwing them on the shore, wondering whether the deaths are due to lack of dissolved oxygen in water. This is breeding season for the fish, and they enter the estuary in large numbers as rainwater has pushed a lot of sludge towards the sea. Water at that point is polluted, leading to these deaths. So it's, once again, runoff, chemical pollution going into the water, killing millions and millions of fish. We are literally killing our oceans here. Third one, dead starfish in Russia. See what they have to say about this one. And this is NIEWS.BE. And it is in Swedish, maybe? See if I can translate it, because I don't really necessarily speak Swedish. Could not be translated. But at any rate, it's a story that shows millions of dead starfish washing up on shore in Russia. I'm going to have to get a better translation program. Here we got Alaska, hundreds of dead fish in Bethel, Alaska. This one ought to be in English. And this is ADN.com, Anchorage Daily News. Hundreds of dead blackfish found in waters near Bethel. And the date on this is November 24th. Last Monday, Jacques Peter Smart walked through the snow to a creek in downtown Bethel, a shadowed tributary of the Arthur Dole Lake that runs above ground between the 6th and 7th Avenues. Hundreds of dead fish were curled together at the bottom of the rust-colored creek, each small enough to fit in your hand. We're looking at a bunch of dead blackfish that washed out of Dole Lake. It happened over a period of 3 to 7 days, but it's kind of totally happening overnight, and we were shook by it. So over the last 2 weeks, that was what was happening. They think someone's putting something in the lake. I have to wonder about that with the all the recent nuclear pollution. Here on the 28th of November, 40 plus dolphins stranded and 8 dead in Titicacaran, India. Let's see if this one's in English. This is the Times of India. Oh. It's trying to make my life difficult. 8 dolphins died and over 40 others were battling for life as fishermen and youth in Punai Kyle in the Titicacaran district strived hard to save shoals of the aquatic mammal being washed ashore on Monday evening. And this is dated November 28th. This is the second major incident of the big sea mammals being washed ashore in the district in less than 2 years, and the first involving such a large number of dolphins. The dolphins were spotted struggling for life around 6 p.m. Some of them were 10 to 15 feet long. 8 of them died. They managed to drag more than 40 of them into the sea, but they kept coming back to shore. So activists suspect that the incident could be due to large-scale pollution by a leading chemical manufacturing plant in that locality, which used to discharge large quantities of harmful chemical waste into the sea during the rainy season. So there you go. Once again, chemical pollution is killing dolphins. Here we got 50 dead sea turtles washed up in El Salvador. Thousands of dead fish, and this is just for November. Thousands of dead fish wash up in Kapiti River, Coast River in New Zealand. In China, mass die-off of fish in Lake Gangxi. In France, hundreds of dead fish wash up due to pollution in a river near Estrelles. I'm going to read that one a little bit. And it's working. Here we go. Let's see. Daniel Gandon, president of the Association of Vitrine Gua, was informed Saturday, November 18th, several hundred fish were found dead near the Valere River in Estrelles. Pike and perch, and sculpin and stud. There were many more that fell to the bottom. I'm looking for reasons. I'm not seeing it. Let's see. $12,300 birds killed due to the avian flu in South Korea. 12,300. And it looks like they were chickens. South Korea's Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs on Saturday, and this was reported on November 18th, said it had detected a fresh outbreak of bird flu at a farm in the country's south and ordered the culling of 12,300 fowls as a preventative measure. So bird flu is loose in Korea. Going down the list. cattle in India. Hopefully this will translate. Hundreds of cattle found dead in Ganjam, India. And this is from ORISSA Post. Looks like babies too. That's too bad. An unknown epidemic has caused the death of hundreds of cattle in a village near the Ganjam district. There's no visible symptoms. The cows are found dead everywhere in forests, riverside, canals, hills, and farmlands in the village. And this condition has been occurring for the last 3 days. This is November 17th. Moving on. My God. It's really very, very sad to see. It seems like India is getting hit pretty hard. South America, but India especially. There's more reports here from India than anywhere else, and a lot of it is contamination. So let's look at their mass bee death list now. This is endtimesprophecy.org, bee die-off. This starts in June 2017. In Brazil, 3.2 million bees dead after spraying crops. April 2017. In the Netherlands, mass mortality of bees during the winter throughout the northern Netherlands. Without bees, we don't get food. There we go. Elam, great shock for beekeepers. Henk Deckner from Elam. When we went to look at the hives and in the hives at the end of the winter, there was almost nothing left of it. You open the cupboards and there are hundreds or so bees at the bottom. The rest are gone. All over Holland, this has been happening. But they say that one of the causes is the Vora mite. It's a parasite that itself is harmful to bees, but the mite can also carry several viruses that it transfers to bee colonies. So what's happening is, I believe as a result of chemical and nuclear pollution all over the world, species are dying. We're killing off species. We're killing off our planet, folks. What are we going to do about this? You know? What in the world are we going to do about this? And I keep getting people messaging me on Skype. I hope that I haven't been offline this whole time. I don't think I have. But waiting for my Skype to load up. There we go. So that was interesting. I don't know why it is that Skype always has to mess up. Why does Skype always have to mess up every time we do a show of any worth? You know, and I've noticed this happens with other activists as well. It's just not me. You know, I've seen Libby Halevi have issues. So is there an option other than Skype for us to use for this? That's what I would like to know. If there is, please go to my YouTube channel and leave a comment under one of my videos, or you can email me at Hebert Jerome, HebertJerome @gmail. If there's another less hackable, I guess you could say, platform that we could use to conduct interviews and connect. Because I see more and more issues popping up. Every time I try to do an interview, and also I've noticed Lonnie Clark has this problem as well. It's like, they just dropped out, or, their audio is so bad you can barely hear them, or something. If you just call them on Skype, that's fine. But as soon as you call them and then UCY.TV, all of a sudden things go to hell. So what is going on with that? What in the world are we dealing with here? It's almost like somebody doesn't want us to do our jobs. We're activists. We will be active. I will be active. I do not care how badly the nuclear industry and the government don't want me to talk. As long as I have lungs and lips, I'm going to continue to talk. Hey, we got a Fukushima Simply Info update from November 22nd. Looks like the group of businesses and doctors from Fukushima are suing GE over negligence in their reactor design. They say that the GE's reactor design used at Fukushima Daiichi was reckless and negligent, and that GE knew the design could not withstand earthquakes and tsunamis. And they say that these deficiencies have been known since the 70s. So, yeah, I mean, they basically cut corners on the Fukushima plant. They cut corners big time. They built a 15-foot high tsunami wall, even though there was evidence that we have tsunamis that are 40 feet, 45 feet tall. They intentionally lowered the buildings closer to the water at a lower altitude than they initially said they were going to save money, because they didn't want to have to pump water uphill as far. So basically the nuclear industry nuclear is very expensive, and it is absolutely got to end, and it will end. And I see more and more evidence of this every day. So we're about to be cut off here. My name is Jerome. I am the Sane Environmentalist. I apologize for the weird bumpiness of this, but you know what? That sometimes happens. It really does. If you want to be an activist, I guess you're going to have to go. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. God bless you.